thinking to themselves, maybe I am being hypnotized. Like the things that he's saying are actually happening. And so if you can make them think that they've been hypnotized, again, that lowers their resistance because, I mean, who could blame me for talking now? I've been hypnotized. I couldn't help myself but talk. At least that's the idea.
But it's just so fascinating to me how much time and effort was spent just studying how to control people's minds and trying to come up with ways to do it.
Yeah.
So it must have been really exciting to be them. I mean, I think what they did is horrible. I don't, I'm not in any way forgiving MK Ultra for what they did. However, boy, it must have been fun. Just to have no oversight, no one even knows you exist.
You kind of get this impression by looking at some of these MK Ultra documents, especially at the beginning before the Frank Olson incident, when Frank Olson eventually dies after one of these experiments. And so that definitely puts a damper on a lot of things that are going on. Before that, though, I do get the sense that it's almost like they're a bunch of guys just trying to, play around with each other in a way, even though what they're doing is completely unethical. But they would just be dosing like the CIA coffee pot and see what happens to people who are taking drinks of it. Just I mean, the rationale is that, well, if the Soviets possess some kind of hallucinogenic drug and they were going to release it into the water supply of a city, we need to know how people would react to that because we need to know how to defend against that. Therefore, we should be doing that to people just to see how they react to it so that we know what kind of signs to look for in case the Soviets do that.
Didn't they dose up a town in France?
I don't think the CIA was connected to that. I mean, I think it actually was like an ergot poisoning that came from the bread.
Ergot? Okay.
I think so. But yeah,
but there was some speculation that it was purposeful.
Yeah, the town's called Pont Saint-Esprit, I believe. But yeah, there were dozens of people who came down with hallucinogenic symptoms. One guy stripped naked and started running around the street. Multiple people died after this. But that was one of the things that led the CIA to become really interested in hallucinogens, because if a poisoning from a bakery could cause that much havoc within this one French town, how much more damaging would it be if the Soviets did that to a city's water supply? And so that kind of leads the CIA. That's the justification. So they start dosing the coffee pots and
they're running brothels.
Oh, yeah.
That's the crazy one. Operation Midnight Climax. Look it up, folks, because it's really crazy. They had their own brothels, and they would use two-way mirrors with cameras behind them, and they would dose the Johns up. They'd give them would you like a drink? Have a seat. And they go, sure, I'll have a drink. And this poor guy, getting off of work, has a drink, thinks he's going to be with a prostitute and have some nice sex. Next thing you know, he's just tripping out of his mind while he's being recorded by Jolly West.
Yeah, the guy who actually ran that is a guy named George White, and he was involved in the OSS. So he was, I mentioned Stanley Lovell and the THC acetate. George White was the guy who was hired to do that in the OSS. Then Sidney Gottlieb, when he's thinking, I need to do these drug experiments for myself, who am I going to get it to do it for me? I need someone who has connections to the underworld, who has criminal connections. George White was a Bureau of Narcotics officer, and so Gottlieb was going through the OSS files, and it turns out, this guy's already done these experiments. I'm going to hire him. So that's how George White eventually gets involved in the CIA stuff.
Wow. I can't wait for this show. Because